you believe it's week 6 of the high school football season? Things are going by very quickly, but the storylines are just amping up as we get ready for the second half of the regular season. Welcome to another episode of your WCPO High School Insider podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dyer. We have plenty of great conversations for you in this week's episode. Our WCPO football game of the week takes us to Northern Kentucky as 4-1 Covington Catholic travels to 2-2 Cooper in the District 5 opener for both teams. We're going to have plenty of coverage for you on the Friday Night Frenzy as well on Friday night. And this episode, you're going to hear from Lakota West senior quarterback Mitch Bolden as the undefeated Firebirds defeated previously undefeated Princeton 31-7 this past Friday night. You're also going to hear from Winton Woods head coach Chad Murphy, along with 3 of his players, as the Warriors have won 14 consecutive games. A little bit later on, you're also going to hear from Hughes head coach Lorenzo Engleman, as the Big Red are 3-1. And Williamsburg head coach Nick Ayers checks in as the Wildcats improve to 4-1 this season and are number 5 in the Division 6 Region 24 computer point standings. And but first of all, let's recap week 5 of the high school football season. It was a GMC showdown in Sharonville this past Friday night, a potential game of the year in the Greater Miami Conference. Lakota West took care of business, especially defensively, defeating the Vikings 31-7. They held a 17-0 lead at halftime and was able to catch up with Lakota West quarterback Mitch Bolden as he reflected not only about the big victory, but a little bit about his career and how his senior season is going by very quickly.
I wouldn't change for a thing. You know, my dad moving here was such a crazy decision, and I've loved every minute of it.
Is it going by quick?
It's really quick. I said something at practice yesterday. I'm I'm halfway through my regular season of my senior season. It's crazy.
Is this kind of what you expected? Did you feel good about this group? I mean, as you kind of head down the home stretch here?
Yep, I knew as a freshman class that my senior class had a good leadership, and they were just good football players. You know, I mean, 3 of them are committed to big-time schools, so it's a special feeling to have this for your senior season.
Well, I've been interviewing Mitch Bolden for 4 years now, and he always has some great insight. Obviously, a son of a longtime head coach Tom Bolden, but Mitch is very honest. He tells you, what it's like, and it's not just sugarcoating anything. The Firebirds have had some great deep postseason runs, and certainly would be a magical journey if coach and son could make another run through the playoffs this year. But before we go any further, I want to remind everybody this High School Insider podcast is presented by our local Chick-fil-A restaurants, where the winning play is always chicken. Download the app today for easy ordering. Well, another team that is undefeated is Winton Woods. The Warriors are 5-0, and they've won 14 consecutive games overall going back to last season. And I'm pleased to be joined by Winton Woods head coach Chad Murphy, and along with a few of his players, senior defensive lineman Terren Macklin, senior wide receiver Carlos Cox Jr., and also senior Casey Spears. And guys, thanks for taking a few minutes here on the WCPO High School Insider podcast. Coach, I'll start with you. Obviously, a great start to the first half of this regular season at 5-0. You're playing Anderson, hosting Anderson 3-2 Anderson on Friday night in a big ECC game. But what do you like most about the way the team is playing right now through the first half of the season?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think it's just, we've done our job. We did what we were supposed to do. And I don't mean that any disrespect or anything like that, but I just feel like, we've handled ourselves, and to us, that's usually what it's about. It's about, taking care of us offensively, defensively, and special teams. And we're not too consumed with who's on the other sideline. We're just kind of trying to focus on ourselves and improve ourselves from week to week.
I talked to you in the preseason. Obviously, we had you on the podcast at our Chick-fil-A location there in Fairfield. And, I think the common theme from you and the players that day was simply, last year was last year. We're moving on. This is a clean slate, and the guys are getting ready to get after it. I remember you told me I was out at the college combine day back in this past spring. You said, hey, we're kind of treating this season like we're the underdog. And, a lot of people would maybe say, hey, you guys are the favorite. But still, how have you kind of kept that mentality of that hunger for each and every week of the season?
Well, hats off to our guys. Our leadership, and a couple of these guys you're going to hear from today, and Cam and Maine, you've heard from them in the past, and we got another guy, Cam Jackson. That it starts with the leadership Eyes are always on, the leaders of this team. And I think it starts with them, showing up and putting the work in. It's of high importance to them guys, and it just kind of trickles down, whether you're a starter or whether you're not seeing the field on a Friday night. It's important to them because of what they're seeing from the leadership. So hats off to our guys, first and foremost.
Oh, let's just talk about your opponent on Friday night. Anderson, obviously, no secret how much they like to throw the ball around. And what's it like preparing for them from a defensive standpoint this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different animal, obviously. What they do is a little different. They've got their little niche. They're different. And like you said, it's a great question. Preparation is obviously a little different than it's kind of like playing the wing tee, or it's kind of like playing triple option football. It's hard to simulate throughout the week in practice, and getting those looks is obviously of the utmost importance. But they're good. Coach Dreyer is good at what he's done. They're doing a great job out of Western Brown now, throwing the ball around and things like that. But he has his fingerprint on even that place. And some of the things that's still going on to this day. And that's no disrespect to the guys out there now. But he's really good at what he does. It's a great system that he runs for what he likes. You know what I mean? What he likes to do, and it's obviously it's been difficult to prepare for, like it always is. But we're finding a way that we feel is the best for us. So we plan to be prepared. Obviously, Coach Gray is not. We're not going to go into a game being not being unprepared or not prepared. We're going to be prepared to the utmost and just need to make the plays when we get the opportunity.
I want to talk about some more of your standout players here in just a second. I want to bring in senior defensive lineman Terren Macklin into the conversation just for a second. Since we're speaking about defense and, going up against Anderson this week. And Terren, thanks for taking a few minutes. Terren, tell me a little bit about, you're a 3-year starter at defensive lineman. First of all, before we kind of talk about this season, just tell me about your experience there at Winton Woods, and obviously going through a state championship season a year ago. But tell me about your experience, what you're most proud of during your career there.
My experience, I could say it was kind of rocky because, coming in my sophomore year, it was coming from COVID, and then the season we had 6-0 season. 6-game season, and then after that season, the coaches left and went to Preseason. Then we rebuilt. Everybody doubted us, and then we just stayed down and trust the process, and then we just went to state, won, and now we're just trying to go back to back.
Tell me about what's the biggest key defensively for your team this year.
Biggest key is I could say not underestimating the other side, basically. Just playing our game and just focusing on us and just trusting we can do what we can do.
How do you think you've improved just from a year ago?
I feel like I've improved a lot with the skill and the technique based off what Coach Sheen has taught me throughout the years.
What's it like preparing for a team like Anderson that, loves to throw the ball? What kind of responsibility do you have on the defensive line this week?
Just get to the quarterback, basically. Just get to the quarterback and force him to throw bad throws and try to get my back end some picks.
How much fun are you having with your teammates this year? Obviously, 5-0 start speaks for itself, but what's kind of like the vibe around the team each and every week?
Well, the vibe is great. I just love the environment I'm in. The players, they all just get it all every day in and out. And we just trust in each other and just being on each other's side no matter what.
Great. I'd like to talk to your teammate there, Carlos Cox Jr., if you got a second to bring the camera around to him. And this is Carlos. Thanks for joining me. I know you're somebody who went from defensive back to wide receiver. And tell me a little bit about that transition for you and what that's been like maybe in the past few months for you too.
That transition, it was just, I had to choose, really. Playing defense last year, it was hard. You gotta know the defense, study a lot, pay attention to what the schemes are on the offense. It's a lot to learn. We run a really high, tall defense. We got Coach Gray, he's really good. But switching to offense, I had to study more again, learn the plays, new playbook. I was new to it, but I know I adjusted quickly, listened to my coaches, trusted the process. Teammates was uplifting me and got my work in.
Tell me about trusting the process for you. I know you're a transfer that came into the program. Go ahead.
Trusting the process, I had to buy in. I knew I had a lot of guys in front of me, players that's been there, work, and I just know I had to come in, count on myself, work hard, and I know if I do those things, I'm going to stand out.
And you have 9 catches for 155 yards, a team leading 4 receiving touchdowns this year. Can you talk to me about the offense and what's been what you like most about it? What's going so well for the entire offense?
We just know we all got to buy in. We more of a running team, but we're gonna bring that play action pass here and there. We just, when it's time for a person to get the ball, you just got to do your job, even when you're not getting the ball.
What's your connection been like with quarterback Van George?
Me and Van, we've been clicking. We in practice. We looking at our defense, best defense we practice against every day. We competing, beat them. It's like almost we playing them a game every day. Them guys are tough over there. They pushing us. We gonna come right back at them.
What's it mean to you to be a captain this year too?
You know what I'm saying? You gotta hold yourself to a higher standard. Be a leader. You can't be a leader without doing what's first in school. You know what I'm saying? Put your work in the weight room. Be more vocal on the field. You know what I'm saying? Because the younger guys are looking at me. So if I mess up or do something that's not the right way, they might do it. If I get out of line, lose my attitude, anger, they might do that. So you just got to stay positive.
I know somebody who really embodies that captain, that leadership role is your teammate Casey Spears, who I'm going to talk to here in a second. But before you kind of give the camera to him, tell me about his role now, really kind of being at every practice, coaching you guys and just being there as a reliable teammate week in and week out. What's that been like for that dynamic?
Man, me and Casey, man, beginning of the season, we was locked in, man. We was so hyped. We was so ready to go. You know what I'm saying? And then I just know he's always going to have my back. When me and him out on the field, we just click in a certain way, off firing on a bunch of cylinders, 120%.
Great. And, I'd like to talk to Casey here if you got a second to – Casey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. There you are. I appreciate it. Well, tell me a little bit about, this team and kind of similar questions I asked Carlos and Terren too, but you have a different role now that we're heading into the second half of the season. Tell me a little bit about that.
Just go in, help motivate everybody, push everybody to be the best they can be, beat the day. That's the best thing that we can do going week in and week out. And,
you could play so many different positions, so versatile and everything. What's it like now kind of seeing the other side of it, coaching these guys and being for them in a different role that you have now this season?
It's amazing. I get to watch and see what everybody can do. And, it just shows me, and they just show me every day that they're just getting better and better every day.
Take me through the practice, the energy, the intensity, everything there at Charlie Frederick Stadium.
It's just wow. You got to be there to feel it. You got to be there to believe it. It's just hype every day.
How focused is this team going into the second half of the season? You guys know that there's a potential, obviously, for a deep postseason run, but I know you're going to take it 1 week at a time. What can you tell, like from a day-to-day perspective, about the way your teammates are really locked in and focused on the task at hand?
Focus. We know we have to beat the day to beat the week. So we'll just be very locked in, making sure we get down all the little things.
What's it mean to you to be a captain this year as well?
It means a whole bunch. You just it just I don't know. Let's say this. Being the captain, you really do have to hold yourself to a higher standard. You got to make sure everybody's on their stuff. As long as you're on your stuff, everybody pays attention to you. So the little things that you do, if they feel like that's okay to do that, then they're going to do it. But if it's bad and they're doing it and they see you doing it, they're going to think it's okay. And we don't want that around the team. We want all positive. And yes, sir.
How different? I mean, people from the outside, Casey, would say, look at last year's team, started 1-2. Everybody knows about the great journey, the great, state championship. And then this year you start out 5-0. Is it a much different mentality of everybody knew Winton Woods is going to be a good team this year? Did you guys approach anything differently, or do you block out any more noise this year, knowing that that expectation is already built into the season?
It's just us staying focused, locked in, buying into the process. We know we have a great coaching staff, and if we do what they want us to do week in and week out, then we'll be good. We just got to buy into the process.
Great. And, Coach, I'd like to ask you the same type of question I did back in the preseason, a little bit about each one of these three players, if you don't mind, and how special they've been to this group and what they've contributed in each and every way.
Yeah, it's been very unique, and it's kind of interesting, how it all works out, but these guys were chosen by teammates to be team captains this year. You think about a guy like Carlos that came in to transferred into this program last year as a junior, played the first half of the season, sat the second half of the season, switches positions, to the offensive side of the ball this year and ends up being a team captain. So to me, that tells me a lot. I always want to respect, especially here, respect the traditions and the football that has been played here for so long. And in my mind, before this, I'm thinking, man, has a kid ever transferred in and, to Winton Woods as a junior or a senior and ended up being a team captain the next year? So to me, that tells me all I need to know about a guy, Carlos Cox, you know what I mean? Chosen by his teammates, been here for a year and a half, knows some of these guys, obviously previously, but just the type of person, the type of young man he is to earn that status and then to withhold that status as well. Just a great kid, a team guy, a we versus me type guy, one of our best blockers, just a high trust guy, high character guy, and a very, very talented young man as well. So very happy for Carlos. Terren has kind of earned it the more traditional way, I guess you would say, with being a 3-year starter on some pretty daggone defenses over the last 3 years here. So that almost tells me enough of him. You ask about his off season. Every year that I've been here, which is, his sophomore, junior, and senior year, I have got to witness him in the off season, and every off season has been better than the one before. So I think he's had a phenomenal off season. He's one of the best interior defensive tackles in the state of Ohio, and I've said this until I'm blue in the face. But he's fighting he's only 6 foot. He can't play Division I football if he's 6 foot. Well, we just had one last year. Jay Ron ended up being the best defensive player in the state of Ohio in Division II football, playing Division I football. But T-Mac is a D1 football player all day long, whether he's 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", whatever he is, or just 6 foot, or if he's 5'11". I really don't care. One of the best interior defensive tackles in the state of Ohio, one of the best young men around. Super, super proud of him and where he's came. Going to have a lot of football ahead of him as well. And then obviously KC, I think in the last couple of weeks since I'm going to be lucky to hold this in. But in the last couple of weeks, there's not a day went by that I haven't thought about him a minimum of 5 times a day. Just one of the top 5 most dynamic dudes in the state of Ohio. And I don't care what division. I don't care what division of football we're talking, D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, or D7. One of the top 5 most athletic, most dynamic dudes in the state of Ohio. And I'm going to say one of the top 5 young men in the state of Ohio too. Just absolutely loves the game of football. Just here all the time, prior to injury, since injury, just here all the time, loves this place, loves the game, loves his teammates. So right now, we're working on the next step. He's got 5+ offers. He's facing some adversity and a few challenges right now, but we myself and some of our guys, we're gonna just keep battling. We're gonna take adversity head on. We're not going to back down from it. Obviously, he's added a challenge or two with this knee. We're working on getting to the next level, but he's got a group of people that will fight to the end for him to get him to the next level where he needs to be. But just a great kid, a captain, whether he's doing his thing on Friday nights or not.
Coach, obviously, Very emotional there, speaking about Casey. Can you just kind of demonstrate, what he's meant in his new role to the team as you see him helping out with practice and helping be a leader among his teammates? And it's going to be really rewarding to see all that.
Oh yeah, it already has been. It's just so weird. I sometimes I got to look away when I see him. You know what I mean? I'm like, why? I kind of think to myself, how come Casey ain't in pads? I gotta. It's just tough. It's the worst thing about the game. It's such a great game. So many life lessons, so many great times, and growing up and playing high school football and all that stuff. But no matter the level, injuries. I just saw where Malik Van down there at UC tears his pec and is out for the remainder of the season. Against Kennesaw State. You know what I mean? So it's just the worst part of the game. But it's the risk reward. Kids put in so much time working and put to master their craft, and it's just part of the game. But it's the worst. So he's just been a blessing, and he'll continue to be. You know what I mean? Just in a different way. He's way more than a football player. I kind of had to learn this kind of lesson when I got fired from being a head coach. You know what I mean? I'm like, I thought that's all I was a head football coach, but it kind of made me take a step back. It was a nice piece of humble pie to learn that I was way more than a football coach. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm so many other things. And I think this will give Casey a time to just step back and realize, man, there's way more to life than football. Obviously he loves football, but he's just such a great human being, has so many things to offer people other than football. You know what I mean? So I just think everything happens for a reason, never going to question the plan. So it is what it is. And he's as big a role in this football team right now as he was 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? So that'll continue.
And just finally, Coach, I mean, obviously everybody sees the success, the stats. You could talk about the college recruiting, and we could mention so many other players, and but just it seems like you said, life lessons beyond the game of high school football. I mean, how much does the Winton Woods program embody that, whether that be through the community support, the community involvement, or just like you said, being a great student athlete, being a great coach, a mentor? Tell us a little bit about that bigger picture, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's something, everywhere tries to, football, you have such a large number of young men that you have the opportunity to help influence and be a part of their life and try to show them the things that's going to help them down the road, whether it's, football related or not. But, this place, obviously, the things that I didn't have to come in and try to do, it was already here, the importance of this game and what it takes to be successful, the putting in extra time and, the brotherhood and just so many things that, when you've been doing something pretty well for 30 years, it's just kind of and we just try to build on that, you know what I mean? And it's, thus far, man, just obviously a huge part of my life, the last couple of years, and just so glad that, one of my chapters led me to Forest Park, and, it's just been a blessing. We're just going to continue to build on that. And, with the utmost goal of producing, if you want to use the word producing, just great young men, it ends up being hardworking, trustworthy, blue collar type guys that are going to go on and do great things, no matter whether it's on the football field or in the workplace, or, hopefully both. But just been blessed. I know that I wore that out last year, but that mind frame is just one that kind of sticks, and just a wonderful place with some wonderful people. Obviously, you've heard from 3 of them today.
Winton Woods head coach Chad Murphy, along with seniors Terren Macklin, Carlos Cox Jr., and Casey Spears. Really appreciate all your time and perspective, and best of luck to Winton Woods the rest of this season.
Thanks for all you do, Mike.
Well, Winton Woods is one of 3 teams that are undefeated in Division II Region 8, and certainly the Warriors are going to be the team to watch from Greater Cincinnati as things wind down this regular season and head into the playoffs in October. And head coach Chad Murphy certainly has his players in a good mindset going forward. But before I go any further, I want to remind everybody this High School Insider podcast is presented by our local Chick-fil-A restaurants, where the winning play is always chicken. Start your day tomorrow with a fresh, warm breakfast. Well, switching gears a little bit to Division III, the Hughes Big Red football team is number 7 in the Region 12 computer point standings this week, and Hughes plays host to Aiken at Stargell Stadium on Friday night. I was able to catch up with head coach Lorenzo Engleman earlier this week as he talked about the Big Red in his first season as head coach.
One of the things that I really like is our ability to score. We've been able to score points in all of our games, no matter the defense success that we've been able to see. So got a lot of skilled guys that have been doing making some plays. And then when Purcell tried to take away our big play ability, right, we were able to make some drives. So our ability to score has really impressed me most.
Great. 3-1. Obviously, your game with Lachlan wasn't played, but you kind of look through the 4 games. I mean, is this just kind of where you expected you would be right now? I mean, or is this exceeding your expectations in your first year?
Yes and no. We play every game to win. So that Chaminade game, we were playing to win that one. The overall expectation is to win every game. But just with some of the distractions that we had early on, being 3-1, we're in a really good position. We got some guys coming on now that we didn't really expect to be a big part of the team. So that's always a plus when we have those add-ons, those add-ins that really come in and be able to help out in some of the needs that we need to fill.
You mentioned that Chaminade game, only a 4-point loss. I mean, what did your team learn from that game, would you say?
We learned what the offseason needs to look like from here on out. Kind of got pushed around up front a little bit. So, it's one of those things that we're going to look to correct in the offseason and, throughout our conditioning and our strength and conditioning program. So that's really what we learned right there. But they also learned that they can play with anyone also. So no matter what the obstacle looks like, because their offensive line was a pretty solid offensive line, probably the biggest offensive line that we'll see this year. We were able to go toe-to-toe with them, score for score for the most part.
Well, tell me about I know you got a lot of guys that are a lot of big-time stats here. TJ, Jaleel, I mean, it goes on and on. Salim had a big night as well against Purcell, but you want to just start off with maybe TJ and what he's meant to the team?
Yeah, so TJ, I think he's been our leader both offensively and defensively when he's not playing quarterback. He's one of the leading tacklers on the team also. Just having a talent like that is that just speaks for itself. He's able to play multiple positions for us. Jaleel is a similar type of kid, able to play multiple positions for us, both offensive and defensive. And then, Salim is like probably the most humble kid that I have on the team. He fills in anywhere where I need. We never get a mixed word from a kid like Salim Ford, and I'm just proud to be able to inherit a kid like that on the team.
Can you talk about just maybe the transition, from Coach Mobley to yourself and what that was like, and maybe just going back to the summer and conditioning workouts and how much did you see the buy-in from your players? What was the chemistry like, the vibe from the team, and what was it like just kind of taking over as head coach?
Yeah, this is my first head coaching stint, so a lot of respect to head coaches that's been doing this for years. So it was really just a shift, and not that Coach Mobley didn't have a great culture going on over here, because they had already started turning the table, but it's a shift in what I needed the culture to look like that took place this summer, through workouts, through conditioning, through just changing up the offense. We had a couple of holdovers from the previous staff, but those major things like offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, head coach, and then just getting our mindset and what we needed to see from these guys on a daily basis, and then on Friday nights was just different. And that was something that it took time, and it's still taking some time to get kids just used to it, and used to me on the sideline, to get used to my tone, and when I'm serious, and when it's playful, and when it's, all of those things. So that's always an adjustment that we have to do from week to week. And then they just have to, and that also me learning the kids, just learning the guys and what they're used to, and, things like that. At the end of the day, football is fun, right? It's a sport meant to be fun. I don't want to take that out. I want to take that away from them. I want them to have fun, and I want it to be shown in how we play the game.
You kind of smiled, though, when you mentioned that you have a lot of credit for coaches who have done this for many, many years. So what's been the biggest challenge when it comes to, I don't, maybe it's time, maybe it's managing a
Yeah.
team, maybe it's X's and O's, I don't know, but what's it been
Yeah.
for you?
I think it's been all of the above. I have a former coach that I look to, who kind of gives me some guidance from time to time, about, how to manage some things. I think it's just a lot of personalities. And then just dealing with, a lot of time it's the non-football thing. So our team is a little small, not because people don't want to play, it's just because that eligibility piece just wasn't there coming into the season. So that's another thing. We were instituting the 2 days of study tables, the grade checks, weekly grade checks, both from myself and then from our coordinator here, our academic coordinator here, who works tremendously with me, sends me a spreadsheet every week just to check on those grades and to make sure the kids are on top of what they're supposed to do. I'm an intervention specialist in the building also, so I don't always have the time to get around to every single kid in every single class. So she helps me out tremendously there.
But how rewarding is this just to see obviously you still got a ways to go here in the season, but to see this great start? I mean, what kind of support have you received from the school and the community?
Oh, the school has been great. The staff is wonderful. Every week we have an alumni come back to kind of speak to the kids about their path and how they managed to get through Hughes, and then what they did moving forward. A lot of the guys have been some of the guys that graduated with me in 2000, but we're looking to I talked to a couple of students that just graduated last year to come back, and I need you to talk to these guys about what the real world is going to look like once you leave these four walls, to move on to whatever it is that you deem you want to move on to next year. So I think that's been a real catalyst to just showing them that, A, what the possibilities are, and then B, what you're going to be up against once you leave here.
Do you think the message is getting through to the team?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So last I think it was Wednesday, I had Andre Frazier, who graduated with me, and he went over to UC and played with the Steelers. Just talked about them. That's where the relentless came from. Talked about them you have to outwork everyone, every single play. So and that was probably one of the attributes that was so important to Andre's success. So for him to come back and share that, and them to see how successful he was in doing those things, I think that was really important.
Well, we mentioned obviously 3 players there. You had 4 interceptions in the game against Purcell. I mean, who else has really kind of stepped up for you from what you
let's see. Caleb Hines, senior, had that interception at late, and that was kind of the ceiling interception. We scored. We're only up 4 at that point, so we end up scoring right after that to kind of seal the game and then be able to milk it away. Lorenzo Engleman Jr., he had an interception at the very end of the game. He's been doing a lot of good things, both offensively and defensively for us. There's a kid named Aaron Phillips. He's one of those surprise kids that came in, and he has just worked. He's the definition of relentless for our team. He's a little undersized, but he works hard. He works as hard as anyone on the team.
what year and position is he, Coach?
He's the senior defensive end.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's taken a couple years off of football. We have another kid, Ryan Cooley, who came back to football this year after a 2-year stint of not playing football. He's a junior wide receiver. He stepped in and played some defensive end for us, scored a huge touchdown for us for Friday. So he's been huge. He's a big frame kid. He's about 6'4", 6'5". His father actually played with me here at Hughes also. So a lot of alumni feeling the need to send their kids back now that they know they have an alumni as a coach also.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. I mean, how much pride do you take in that? And obviously, can you explain the family connection too, how special that is for those who aren't as familiar? Obviously, they see Engleman name on the roster quite a bit.
Yeah. So, yeah, I talk to my boys, my son and then my nephews often about just appreciative. I think they've helped to ease this transition for me coming into my first head coaching stint. So I'm very appreciative. I have 10 brothers and sisters. They're at every game. And they're as loud as anyone, you know. So they're very supportive. 7 of the 11 of us came through Hughes at one point. 6 of us graduated from Hughes. So it's just it was to receive the job, to come to this point, and knowing that there's still work to be done. It's a joyous occasion. The alumni support has been just tremendous. It's just been an outpouring of support all throughout the community also. So it's tremendous. There's no other way to put it. It's exciting.
That's awesome. Great. Now you get to open up CMAC play. You play Aiken this Friday.
Yep.
Did you have any particular message to the team about opening up conference play or any a focal point of emphasis this week?
Yeah, so we're still sticking with the theme of being relentless. We have to take care of our assignments. I think that's one of the points of emphasis for this week is to make sure our assignments are tightened up, especially going into CMAC play. We know a lot of these kids. We know from the neighborhood, they grew up with us. They played against them in Little League. They've been playing against them for the last 3-4 years. So we have to kind of take the emotion out of there and just do what we are assigned to do. So I think that's the biggest point of emphasis, just play our assignments and just make sure that we take care of what we need to take care of, and we'll be all right.
Finally, I wanted to ask you just about your style, because you mentioned that, you're still getting your voice as far as, managing the personalities, but, football is fun. I mean, tell me about, for those that haven't seen Hughes play in person this year, like what that's like, just to, how much fun your team is having, I guess, through the success.
Yeah, I think we talked about all of those people that were very integral. Offensively, we spread the ball out. So there's not one person that you're just going to key on and try to, just figure out. If we shut this one down, then, Hughes is going to fold. This isn't how it's been happening for us. I've had TJ, he's the leading rusher, but I have another 2 running backs that have had almost just as many carries of him in game. We do some extended things to try to get the ball out to some playmakers just so they can make plays. So it's a really exciting brand of football. And then defensively, we just try to be on attack at all times, and just all hats to the ball. So we're just trying to, I guess it's kind of like that backyard football kind of mentality. Like, we're just going to get it out to our guys and let's make some plays. And they're held accountable. They're held accountable for making a guy miss. They're held accountable for all of those things. So it's fun.
Well, you can tell there from Coach Engleman how much this means as a 2000 Hughes grad to lead this football team. He told me he has 10 siblings that attend each and every one of the football games, a great community and alumni support that certainly has gone many miles for the success of this year's team, and it'll be great to watch Hughes down the stretch this season. Well, switching gears to Division 6 now. Williamsburg is off to a great start at 4-1. Their only loss was a 4-point loss in overtime, and I was able to catch up with Nick Ayers as he talked about his first season as head coach with the Wildcats and being able to reinvent himself after 18 years of coaching high school football.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. The community love for football is kind of overwhelming. I mean, they love football, and everywhere you go in town, it's the biggest deal. And I say small town, big deal. So I don't know if they like it yet, but we'll see. We're implementing ourselves more and more into the community. We bought some land over there to move over there and build a home. So first things first. So the kids are very, very athletic minded kids. A lot of them are multi-sport athletes. And when I say multi-sport, you're talking not like 2, you're talking 3, 4, 5. Sometimes they play multiple sports in a season, which is different for me. But there are some kids with some skill sets that's pretty amazing. I think we have a Division I tight end. And Alex Irvin. I think we've got some really, really good players that I got a 6.5-foot high jumper That's an Tristan Grice. That's an unbelievable player. We have some new kids that are new to Berg that have integrated themselves amazing and have made huge strides in the program. So it's just, as a whole, the team going from a roster size before of 100 all the way up to 130, down to my, the roster size now is about 40. And you can just develop relationships easier and better that way and give kids personal attention that they need to be good football players, good students, and it helps me reinvent myself as a coach.
What was your first order of business when you took over the program?
So really the program was in great shape. Chad Ward did an amazing job. They went to playoffs last year, won a playoff game. They implemented a ton of new things ahead of me. They already had a full-time strength coach who was an aeronautical engineer. By amazing blessings, they got him, and the strength and conditioning program's already on the way up. It's a commitment that the district made to implement strength and conditioning and have it as a part of your practice. So every kid that's year round lifts year round. So that's something for male and female athletes in the school district. They have put a point of emphasis on that. So that was great too. So first order of business is trying to identify how we can help coach the kids the best way we knew how. We did a lot of things. We needed to decide if we were going to be a throwing team or a running team. We needed an identity. And a couple of the coaches that were on the staff from last year said, what is our identity? And we really didn't know, because we didn't know what style the kids were or what system they would do best in. So we kind of just started throwing a mixed batch and putting it together. And now I would say we're more of a throwing team, which is hard for me to say because I'm a original wing tee guy, even though we ran the run and shoot in college, but wing tee is what I've, fallen in love with and stuff. But our offensive coaches have decided that we're more of a passing team right now. And it seems to work. We're averaging 43 points a game. What's
that been like for you? Just you go from that transition, like you said, wing tee to opening it up so much. Is that hey, whatever works makes you successful, obviously, at the end of the day?
Yeah. So you have to, and you have to think Coach Ken Osborne won 207 games there. I mean, unbelievable. I think he's top 50, 51, maybe in wins and as a head coach. And the people, I reach out to the community and ask, what's something great that Coach Osborne did that was just year to year? How do you last that long? And they said he knew what he had talent wise. He knew what he had, and he always manipulated the system a little bit to help his offense and defense to win games. He was able to do that as a football coach. And that was like a gift that he had. Hey, this year we got to be more run heavy. Hey, this year we're more of a passing team, whatever that may be, or we could be well-rounded, or we could be 50-50. So it's just that right there. I was like, okay, maybe these kids can adapt a little bit. And we have adapted more to the throwing style. Being in the game, there's a couple times that I tell the offensive guys, I'm like, I really don't like this, but it's something that we're going to roll with. And because once we put the stuff in, you can't question the coaches because they've worked hard on it all week.
Let's talk about some of your players here. Junior JJ Miller, 767 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 220 yards rushing, and 6 touchdowns. I mean, what's he meant to the offense?
So, I mean, he's the centerpiece to it. Everybody is valuable. But JJ is just a special kid. I've known him since he was a baby. And he has done a ton of things. And you got to think, we've played 5 games, but he's probably really only played a full game in 2 or 3 of them. Okay. So I think, I think he's the best player in our conference. I think that he's one of the best players around any division. And if you put the ball in his hands, a lot of great things can happen. So he's just an amazing player. And the kids that we have around him have helped us tremendously in being able to make plays. Like I said, we got a 6.5-foot high jumper. We've got 2 tight ends that are 6'3" and 6'4", and both can jump out of the gym. We got guys that can extend the field. We've got speed. I mean, we've got linear and lateral speed. I mean, it's just, we have a ton of weapons, especially at the Division VI level. You really don't have that luxury, but this year we do.
Can you talk about some of those guys specifically, if you don't mind?
So obviously there's JJ. Tristan Grice is a dual threat athlete. I mean, he's just amazing. Alex Irvin, his catch radius is probably five yards around him, maybe even more. He can go up and get it. High level basketball player. And that's what I love doing and maybe that's going to be my staple, is taking basketball players and making them football players. Toby Humphries is another threat. A big kid, can go up and get the ball. And a more of a blocking tight end for us. We have Bryce Lilly, who is a deep threat, stretches the field, great linear speed. I think he's a 100-meter track champ in our conference. We've got Pierce, so he's going to be able to. I mean, he can catch anything, really. I mean, if you put the ball around him, he's going to do a really, really good job of catching the football, getting upfield. His athletic IQ is really high. I'd say he probably gets that from me. I don't know.
Just to make sure everybody knows, Pierce, your son.
Yeah, Pierce is my kid. So he's done a great job. He's on the smaller side, so he's done good. So we'll see how his body holds up and stuff, and what we can do and take care of that. And then we just got some kids on defense that can just flat run. That's something that we're going to take pride in and develop. And we want to be able to you have to be able to run if you want to play defense for us. I've made some mistakes as a head coach and not allowing us to tackle as much in practice. So that has hurt us big time in games. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a point of emphasis on more live tackling. Now, if you just can't risk with that many guys, only having 40 on a roster and risk kind of hurting guys, with the tackling and stuff, but it's hurt us. I've put us in a bad spot with that.
Is there a fine line though to that though? Because I mean, you hear more and more from coaches about, especially during the stretch run toward the playoffs, where you want to stay as healthy as possible. Yeah,
you want to stay healthy. I mean, it's about being 4-1. I can sit here and say it's about me or it's about whatever. It's about the kids, putting them in the best situation possible, giving my assistant coaches the ability to say, hey, open this up for this kid, develop this kid, make this kid do this. And then we've adapted to each kid's skill set, got them the ball, and that's what's allowed us to average as many points as we have. And if I coach a little better, we're 5-0, and I've got to do some things that are going to help us finish and win the next game. So we got a long road trip ahead of us, 3-hour trip to Eastern Reedsville Friday. So again, we got to get our kids prepared for that. So it's going to be a big deal.
The only loss was to Hillsborough, 48-41 in overtime.
Yep.
Just, big win over Laughlin this past week. What's kind of the mindset of this group, and what do you like about coaching them from a day-to-day perspective? Obviously, you talk about, they're skilled, obviously, when you talk about both sides of the ball, but what's kind of the, this group's kind of mantra as far as their chemistry together?
They're a very family-oriented group. When we dismiss them from practice, they're not in any hurry to leave. They get extra work in. The leadership is continuing to get better. I heard last year's group at Williamsburg was an amazing leadership group, so they deserve some credit as, the previous year seniors did an amazing job. So our guys are starting to pick that up. We're just trying to develop a level of family because the talent is going to go up and down, the different things, but how we overcome adversity in different situations. So I would say the best part of being at Berg is the just family atmosphere, the ability to develop relationships with every single kid, and them wanting to just continue to learn the game of football.
You kind of alluded to this at the outset about the community buy-in, but just to kind of sum that up, I mean, what's that been like on a Friday night? Whether, you've been on the road a lot, obviously, but just the support around the school community. How nice has that been?
It's amazing. It's 100% one direction love for the community and for the program. They asked me to do them a favor tonight at our Battle in the Berg fundraiser, and I guess some guy gets to slam me on the ground. So I could not like him after I get beat up today, but this evening about 8:00, I'd probably let everybody know how bad I get hurt.
I mean, but this is part of the job though, right? I mean, as a head coach of Williamsburg, like this is, like you said, you have success and obviously people are going to enjoy that, but it's one thing to have that, but then to be engaged in the community the way you are, I mean, that's got to be rewarding at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I mean, I love it. My younger son just started at Williamsburg as well, and he's in the elementary school. He loves it. The community atmosphere to it, and you got to think this is my first time out of the previous district I worked. So, and I was there for 17 years. So to come in to a situation like this, and it, do you remember when Jim Harbaugh, I said this in another interview, but when Jim Harbaugh said that Ryan Day was born on third and he thought that he hit a triple, I mean, Chad Ward and the community set it up a lot like that for me. I mean, you can't take full credit and have all these kids, all these athletes in a line, all these assistant coaches that want to, I've got 3 former players on staff now. I've got so many people willing to volunteer. And it is just, I got to reinvent myself a little bit as a coach and get better on my end. So it's really helped kind of just, revive my coaching. And I'm very lucky to be in the situation that I'm in. Win or lose another game, we got to go 1-0 each week, but it's a great situation. I mean, I'm very, very fortunate. I'm fortunate for what the previous staff did. I'm fortunate that the community alignment, administration's alignment, and our alignment is all the same. And that's something that's just not everywhere.
Williamsburg head coach Nick Ayers, really appreciate your time and perspective, and all the best of luck to you and the team going forward.
Thank you.
Well, Williamsburg is on the road for the 3rd consecutive week, making a long road trip to Eastern High School this week. And you could tell in Coach Ayers' voice how much this means to him to kind of reinvent himself in a program that has 40 players total on its roster. But certainly after being at West Claremont for a number of years, Coach has found a new niche with this Williamsburg program and community, and it'll be fun to see the Wildcats make a playoff push later this October. Well, there are plenty of good matchups for you on this Week 6 slate of games. We have Anderson at Winton Woods, as I mentioned earlier. How about the SBAAC? 5-0 New Richmond traveling to Mount Orab to take on 4-1 Western Brown. Drew Novak, the senior quarterback there for Western Brown, he could become the 4th all-time leading career yards passing leader in OHSA history. Just needs 100 yards, and certainly gaining a lot of attention after he passed Joe Burrow last week on the state list. And how about Princeton at Fairfield, a great GMC matchup. The Vikings 4-1 at 5-0. Fairfield. Western Hills 3-2 at 4-1 Woodward. And how about Elder? They're hosting St. Xavier in a big GCL South showdown there at the pit in Price Hill. We'll have all the action for you on the Friday Night Frenzy. Thanks again for listening and watching. I'll talk to you next week.